cleared for takeoff. We roll out onto the runway and I close the door, but the door won't latch. So we're on the active runway and the door's open. I can't get it to latch. Commercial airlines inbound at a Charlie airport, other planes behind us holding short. I can't get the door to latch and we're rolling down the active runway. Nice one, Mitchell.
Engine instruments green, airspeed alive.
The reason why I couldn't get the door shut, this is my first time in the plane. I'm sitting in the right seat as a passenger, and it's my job to close the door and make sure it's latched before we take off. My first time in the plane, I didn't know that the plane had a bit of a bulge on the door frame that took a little trick to get it shut and latched. I had not rehearsed this procedure before, so I didn't know that was a situation at hand. Why is the door open in the first place? Small airplanes don't have air conditioning. They don't have windows that roll down like in a car. Totally normal to have the door open. It might be 10, 15 minutes from the time you get into the plane to the time that you're flying and have some airflow. So during those 10, 15 minutes where you're taxiing, pre-flighting, before you're flying and have airflow, you might want to have the door open. It's totally normal, standard practice for everyone. And then there's a checklist item that reminds you to close the door and make sure it's latched. There's a bunch of checklist items when we're flying. We're constantly going through the checklist to make sure we're not forgetting anything. The question is, when do you perform that checklist item to close the door? If it's hot out and you're boiling inside the cockpit, you want to wait as long as possible. Anyways, I waited until the last second, right before we roll out onto the active runway for takeoff. Learning moment. And had I been a little more familiar with the plane, I may have known that latching the door can sometimes be difficult, or maybe I just would have been better at latching it. So anyways, even on those hot days, I guess double check your door, make sure you're able to complete that task when the time comes. What ended up happening in this scenario, well, I got the door partially latched at the last second. There's two latches on a Cherokee. There's a normal latch like you would find on a car door, and then there's also an overhead latch that keeps the top fixed in place. I could see daylight through there because I couldn't get the top latch to connect. So not an ideal situation. Planes can operate with the door open or the door uninstalled, but it does decrease performance. It does create a distraction, and numerous accidents have occurred from people trying to fix a door that popped open mid-flight. So standard procedure, if your door accidentally pops open mid-flight, ignore it, continue the flight as planned, and deal with the door after landing. So this particular issue, not an emergency, but could you call that a near miss? Definitely a little display of complacency and oversight that would have been a contributing factor in an accident had one occurred. Definitely something worth reflecting on and improving on in the future. So that was definitely a learning moment for me. Look forward to being more aware and prepared next time I'm in that situation. Thanks for watching. See you next time.